powerful CEO worth millions never smiled, never laughed. Until one rainy afternoon, a small girl asked her 4 words that would change everything. And what she saw around that little girl's neck made her freeze completely. If you want to see what happened next and why this moment brought tears to thousands, stay tuned and don't forget to like and subscribe to Kindness Stories right now. You won't believe how this story ends. Victoria Stone sat in her executive suite on the 48th floor, surrounded by glass, steel, and silence. Through the floor-to-ceiling windows, the city sprawled beneath her like a conquered kingdom. Yet somehow she felt more imprisoned than powerful. At 42, she had everything the world said mattered: a billion-dollar empire, a penthouse overlooking Central Park, awards lining mahogany shelves, and a calendar so full there wasn't a single empty minute. But her heart? Her heart was a museum of abandoned rooms. She'd sacrificed everything for success, telling herself that love was a weakness, relationships were distractions, and motherhood was something other women did. Other women who weren't destined for greatness, she'd whispered to herself on countless lonely nights. The irony was that Victoria hadn't always been this way. 20 years ago, she'd been different, softer, kinder, someone who dreamed of having children and building a family. But when her first business opportunity came, a man who promised forever chose ambition over marriage, and hurt had calcified into determination. She'd poured all her love into building her company, convincing herself it was enough. It had to be enough, because stopping to feel would mean acknowledging everything she'd lost. That Tuesday afternoon, everything shifted. Victoria was rushing through Grand Central Station, already late for a board meeting, her heels clicking against marble like a metronome of her relentless life. She barely noticed the small figure sitting on a cold bench near the main terminal, a girl no older than 7, with tangled hair and shoes with holes in them. She wouldn't have stopped at all except the child's voice, small, desperate, and achingly pure, cut through her thoughts. "Excuse me? Can you be my mom for just one day?" Victoria should have kept walking. Should have called security. Should have done what Victoria Stone always did: maintain boundaries, stay focused, remain untouchable. Instead, something ancient and buried inside her made her pause. She turned slowly, and there was the child, tiny, fragile, with dark eyes that had seen too much suffering. But it was the necklace that made Victoria's breath catch. It was identical to one she'd worn as a child, a small silver locket with a dancing ballerina inside, the kind mothers gave their daughters. Victoria hadn't thought about that necklace in decades, but seeing it around this stranger's neck felt like the universe had reached down and grabbed her by the throat. "Where's your mother?" Victoria asked, her voice coming out strange, thick with emotion she couldn't suppress. The girl's eyes filled with tears. "She's in heaven," she whispered. "She's been gone for 2 years. Today would have been her birthday, and I'm so tired of being alone." Victoria felt something crack open inside her chest, something she'd sealed shut long ago. Without fully understanding why, without even calling her office to reschedule, Victoria sat down on that bench, and for the first time in decades, she truly looked at another person. "Tell me about her," she said. And as the little girl spoke about her mother, about her laugh, her warmth, her gentle hands, Victoria realized she was crying too. By the time the girl finished her story, Victoria knew that her entire life was about to change. She hadn't scheduled this moment. She hadn't strategized it or planned it. But sometimes the most important moments in life are the ones that find us when we're finally broken enough to be open. "So," Victoria said, wiping her eyes with the back of her hand, not caring that her mascara had smeared or that she looked nothing like the powerful woman in those corporate portraits. "You need someone to be your mom today?" The girl nodded, her small hand reaching out tentatively to touch Victoria's arm as if afraid she might disappear. "What's your name?" Victoria asked gently. "I'm Emma," the girl whispered. "And I know you're busy. You look really important. But everyone at school has a mom here on special visitor day, and I didn't want to sit alone again." Those words, simple, honest, heartbreaking, did something Victoria didn't think was possible. They made her remember that some things matter infinitely more than money, status, or achievement. Victoria made a decision that shocked everyone who knew her. She called her office and told her assistant to cancel everything. Not reschedule, cancel. When her COO, terrified, asked what the emergency was, Victoria simply said, "I just realized I have one." Then she turned to Emma and asked, "What would your mom have done with you on a day like today?" For the next 8 hours, Victoria experienced life through Emma's eyes. They rode the subway like it was a magical train, played in Central Park like the trees held secrets, bought hot dogs from a street vendor and sat by the lake, shared ice cream that dripped down their fingers, and talked about Emma's mother, about dreams and memories and the way love doesn't disappear when people do. Emma told Victoria about her temporary foster home, about the kind woman who was trying her best, but was stretched so thin caring for 6 other children that Emma sometimes felt invisible again. She showed Victoria the locket and explained that inside was a photo of her mother, and she wore it every single day because it made her feel less alone. By sunset, sitting on a bench as the sky turned orange and pink, Emma fell asleep with her head on Victoria's shoulder. Victoria sat perfectly still, afraid to move, tears streaming silently down her face. She'd spent 2 decades running from this exact feeling, the vulnerability, the tenderness, the terrifying openness of love. But holding this child, she realized that everything she'd built meant nothing compared to this moment. The boardrooms, the deals, the accolades, they'd all been expensive ways to avoid facing the truth. She'd been running from herself. When Emma woke up, she hugged Victoria tightly and said, "Thank you for being my mom today. Will you come see me again?" Victoria knelt down, took both of Emma's small hands in hers, and made a promise that would rewrite her entire life. "Emma, I'm going to do better than that. I'm going to be here for you, not just for a day, for all your days, if you want me to be." Emma's face transformed with a joy so pure that Victoria felt like she was seeing a miracle. That night, Victoria began the legal process to become Emma's official guardian. It took 3 months, but when that little girl finally called her mom in a courtroom, with tears of happiness streaming down both their faces, Victoria Stone, the cold, invincible CEO, understood for the first time what it truly meant to be rich. Wealth wasn't in her bank account. It was in moments like this. It was in the hand holding hers. It was in the love she'd almost missed forever. 1 year later, Victoria had restructured her company, delegated more, and cut her hours in half. She and Emma had matching lockets now, and every night, Victoria tucked her daughter into bed and whispered, "I'm so grateful you found me." Emma would smile and say, "You found me, Mom, on that bench, and you stayed." And Victoria would hold her close, grateful that sometimes the most important victories in life happen when we finally surrender, when we stop running from love, and when we choose people over power. If this story touched your heart like it's touched ours, please like this video and subscribe to Kindness Stories for more tales that remind us what truly matters in life. Because every single day there are Emmas out there waiting to be seen, and there are Victorias waiting to remember how to love. Share this story with someone who needs to hear it. Thank you for being part of our kindness family.